Hey, hello everybody. Welcome to another streaming about ZBrush and jewelry. I'm Nacho Riesco. Here I am again to start sculpting some jewelry design. So first of all, let me know if you can hear me. My voice sounds good. The music is not too loud. Everything is working well on your side. Let me know if everything's working fine. Here I'm checking some settings that my voice is sounding good and the music is not too loud, as I said before. So let me know if you have any problems on your side about the sound. On my side, looks like everything is working. So, but let me know if not. And welcome everybody. Hey Fexter, how are you again? So, and welcome everyone who wants to know, who wants to see me working on making jewelry design with ZBrush. Oh, sounds perfect. Great. I'm becoming a perfect YouTuber, just streaming. So I'm controlling almost everything. So, no, but it's hard for me. It's hard. So I'm still trying to learn how it works, even after, because today is I'm not sure, maybe the, the streaming number 20 or so, maybe more or less. So at this point, I must be more a professional about making streamings, but I am still feeling that I don't have everything under control when I click the live button. But anyway, so looks like everything is working fine. So today I'm going to talk about brooches. Brooch, I don't know how to pronounce it, as brooches or brooch. This kind of pieces of jewelry that I love because in my opinion gives me more room for creativity. So I have played more with organic forms, with animals, with many themes that I like to sculpt. I prefer, maybe I can say it's my favorite piece, jewelry piece, more than pendants or rings or whatever other kind of pieces. Maybe the brooches are, in my opinion, the most creative pieces that you can find on the jewel industry. So I gather it, I collect a bunch of images. Mainly, this is the image that I'm going to use as main inspirations to start creating something. I don't pretend to copy to make an exact replica about this one. Maybe I can make some changes, or I can add more elements. Let's see. I don't have any specific in mind, but the idea is to start making a brooch from scratch with ZBrush. So before I start talking about how to start creating this piece, as I say at all of my streaming, so send your questions, your comments. So I going to be here sculpting this piece, but do you have any other related questions or themes or comments? So just drop your questions on your comments on the chats. I'm gonna try to pay as more attention as possible to your questions. So I love to interact with you. So I'm not here just for being sculpting during the 2 hours. So I enjoy a lot to be here talking with you, discussing things about Julie, about ZBrush, about sculpting, many other or any other themes. So don't hesitate to send your questions. So I will be glad to answer all of your questions. Okay, how are you? Donna Asok Kumar is already asking how can fill a hole created by Boolean. I think if you, for example, let me know if I am it is not correct. For example, if I drop a cylinder frame, my keyboard is still asleep. Now, yeah. If I create a make polymesh, I create a duplicate. I'm gonna rotate this one 90 degrees. Let's make it smaller. Let's make it bigger. So I'm gonna turn this on to start using the booleans. So I'm gonna subtract the second cylinder from the first one. If I turn this on, I can see this. So if I click now, create the make Boolean mesh, we have this. If I'm not wrong, you're asking how to fill this hole made by a Boolean operation, right? So one idea that I have comes to my mind. What you can do here, you know that you have different polygroups based on the different meshes you were using to make the Boolean operation. What you can do is Control Shift and click on this polygroup. Now you can delete. I'm gonna make a duplicate to keep this as a backup. When now you can do is delete hidden and now close holes. And you can, of course, the cylinder hasn't the same shape as before, but it's just a matter to sculpt a little bit and you can grab again the same thing. So just using the close holes. This is the first one method that comes to my mind for the first time. So okay, let's start working on the brooch. I'm gonna leave this always on top, maybe mode always on top. I'm gonna put it here. You can see here most of the brooches you can see from the front view looks beautiful, so it looks completely three-dimensional. It works more like reliefs instead of full 3D objects. But the one that the thing that I like the most about jewelry most of the time is the back side of the design. You can see here, that's the reason why I collect. This is here you can see from the front, you can see all the shapes and the forms that has this brooch, but from the back side it's completely flat, a little bit concave to save weight. So it's not just a matter to start making a sculpture. It's very important to keep in mind the weight of the total piece, and when we are sculpting for the front side, we should be thinking about the back side as well at the same time, so to try to make as light as possible piece to being able to wear it on your jacket, on your dress. So this is one of the things that I love about to make jewelry, how challenging it is. It's not just a matter to making a beautiful piece, so you should be taking a lot of information about weights and metal costs, many different things. This is one of the things that I like the most about making jewelry pieces. So we're gonna try to make it flat, of course, on the back, or I'm gonna try to make it hollow in the back if necessary. Here you can see more examples. For example, this from the front view, this is from the back view. And this is the same thing here, from the front, from the back. This back is completely flat. And also it's going to be very important to have in mind where to place the needle or the closing system. This is another challenging part to take into account during the designing process. If it is the same polygroup, you are asking, for example, if I come back here, Control D, Control C, Control C, Control Shift. If you have this, and this is one polygroup, Control W, we only have one polygroup. What you can do is go to polygroups and use the groups by normals option. Where is it? Here are you from groups and by normals, this one. And now you have the piece organized by different polygroups based on the each individual normals angle. What you can do now is Control Shift, tape here, Control Shift, and drag to invert the visibility, and now repeat the same as before. So delete hidden and close holes. So groups by normal, it's a very useful way to create automatical polygroups based on normals. Hola Eduardo, buenas tardes. So can Pixel allow you to create or choice jewelry designs? What did you mean? What do you mean about with your question? To create your choice jewelry design. I don't know what you mean. I don't understand you. Tell me please. I want to make a ring with NML peony. What is the minimal? The metal thickness, for example, if you are talking about the petal, for example, let's drop this here. Let's, for example, you have a petal like this of a flower, and you have in mind to create an enamel. So we are talking. You are gonna create a space, a gap for the petal like this, something like this. So this is going to be the petal more or less. So I'm not sure if you are talking about this thickness, the thickness of the piece, or you are talking about how depth the gap for the enamel should be. If we are talking about how depth the enamel for the gap should be, I think the best choice to try to talk with the person who is gonna be in charge for the enameling. But from my experience, from my information, this shouldn't be less than 0.5 millimeter. Maybe the right measurement could be 0.6 millimeter depth to have success with the enamel. So don't make it less than, try to avoid to don't make it less than 0.5 millimeter. If you can go 0.6 or even deeper, 0.7 will be better. And if you are talking about the petal thickness, that depending on the kind of casting machine that you are going to use, but I'll try to don't go below 0.8 millimeter at the minimum thickness. Try to don't go below 0.8 millimeter. Try to avoid to make things thinner than 0.8 millimeter. Okay, I'm gonna remove this. Okay, you're welcome. You are welcome. Hey David, how you doing? Ok. Gracias Alexis. Bienvenido. Muy agradecido que estés aquí. Y let's start sculpting. So as I said before, I'm gonna try to create something similar what I have in mind today, or today and for the streaming for the next weeks, or maybe for the streaming for the week after the next week, where I'm gonna be being focused about sculpt this kind of brooch or brooches. I don't know which is the right way to pronounce it. The word brooch or brooches in plural, but this is and one of the style that I love is this kind of brooches that comes from the Victorian age, Victorian time, and we are lucky enough today because we have a tool like ZBrush to create this kind of designs. But you think about how they did it 2 centuries ago or 3 centuries ago, it's completely amazing. The ability of the craftsman and of the sculptor or the jewelers or the goldsmiths to create such kind of high detail pieces of jewelry. I guess that they were sculpted in wax, or maybe this one they were made with a technique where you are hitting the metal from the backside and you start bending and carving the metal directly, sculpting the forms. I don't know, but anyway, it's completely amazing. But today we have a tool like ZBrush, and we have another tool. It's another way to try to create the same thing, but we can make it with. ZBrush is going to be the perfect tool to create this kind of jewelry designs. So how I texture a diamond in ZBrush? I don't need to texture any diamond in ZBrush. What do you mean? Or what do you need to texture a diamond in ZBrush? For what purpose? Ooh, Koba Makinin is asking a very big questions. Many people who start working with ZBrush are asking same question, is saying what's the difference between Dynamesh and Remeasure tools? The answer that I can give you, I'm gonna turn off the sound from my phone. So I think the main answer I can give you, of course, there could be many different answers, but from my point of view, the Dynamesh is more for when you are blocking the shapes or when you are sketching, when you are starting sculpting the forms. So you don't have limits. You can start pulling or pushing the mesh, making new forms, because during the sculpting process, you can rebuild the mesh. You can remesh the mesh, and you don't care about the topology. You are just focused on sculpting different forms. So once you are happy with the forms, you can take one step forward to start making more fine details or smaller details. Maybe it's going to be the time to start going from Dynamesh to ZBrush and start subdividing the mesh. That's the main answer I can give you. Dynamesh is for sketching, for blocking forms, so like a free way of sculpting where you don't care about topology and polygons. And ZBrush is more when you are start creating the fine details on the surface. That's it. War Dog is saying it feels like the program is harder than I need to be. Yeah, I think maybe it's not more or less harder than other programs. But what I think is, of course, completely different than other programs. Maybe that's the key. So the way that you need to learn ZBrush is completely different than the way you are using for learning another programs. So some them you think it's harder than the others, but it's just a matter of the way of learning. So in my opinion, it's not harder than any other programs. But my opinion is not very important because the first 3D program that I used was ZBrush, so I haven't got any background about any other 3D program. I get into the 3D world with ZBrush directly. Eduardo, ya tengo que ver esa pieza terminada, sí. La vas a ver, la verás, espero. No esta, una parecida, no la quiero copiar. Okay, let's go. Let's go. So the first decision to take when you are thinking about to start creating objects that you are going to need to print it, of course, and you are going to need to cast it and so on with usually making process. The first decision to take is how big this brooch has to be. So if I grab here my caliper, maybe the brooches don't have to be too big. So if not, it's going to be too heavy. So maybe a good option could be no bigger than could be around 20 or 25 millimeters. Maybe we can stay about 22, maybe. Let's say 22 millimeters. Can ZBrush work like CAD software? See, you are talking about CAD software about curves softwares. When I'm saying curves, I mean NURBS curves. Not, it can't, because ZBrush with ZBrush you are using meshes, polygons, vertex, and so on. So you are not using curves. So the way of working is completely different. So you are thinking about Rhino or Matrix or any other CAD software. ZBrush can't work through that way, because it's like you are using a completely different material. So you should learn another process. Okay, so the first thing that I do when I start creating a brooch or a pendant is to start creating a template. Okay, we can say a template, or I don't know, maybe it's not the right word, but okay, I'm gonna show you what I'm saying. If I am gonna create a brooch or a pendant, I most of the time I start from a cube. So I grab a cube. I'm gonna try to create this window a little bit smaller. Okay, so let's make a polymesh. Let's find first where is the right axis. So I'm gonna turn off the Y axis from the floor, and I turn on the Z axis. Let's turn on the floor. So this is going to be the front view, this is going to be the front side, this is going to be the back side, and the side, the different side. So if I turn on my symmetry, so now I'm using the left and right symmetry. So I'm gonna squeeze it a little bit. And now the next step, this is the reason why I said I'm gonna create a template, is to fix the measurements. As I said before, I'm gonna use boundaries or limits of 22 millimeters. So I'm gonna open this left tray. I'm going to open my plugin menu. Let's go to the scale master. Let's set first the scene scale. We are gonna work in millimeters. So click on the millimeter space. It is currently the cube as it is now. It is 2 by 2 by 0.58995 millimeter, and I'm gonna use a distance, a measurement of 22 millimeter. Let's type 22, enter, and resize the subtool. So now we are using a. So we are using a template or a box of 22 millimeters. I'm gonna correct the grid a little bit bigger. You can find the settings about the grid or the floor on the draw menu. Let's drop it here and let's make it bigger. Grid size, we can make it bigger. And now I'm going to, let's change the material, and I'm going to attach this image to the floor, going to the front back section, clicking on the map one, clicking on import. Let me find the image. Here it is. And now you can see now we have the image attached to the floor. So let's set up the fill mode from 1 to 3. So we're going to be able to see through the geometry. And let's play a bit with these two sliders. So let's my preferences, it's set up this to the maximum and enhance opacity below the middle, more or less like this. So we can start. Oh, let's adjust first the image. So clicking on adjust, we can crop the image because we don't care about the part of the image that don't contain information. So clicking OK. So now we can make it smaller. So it should be more or less something like this. So you can see it's going to be 22 millimeter from left to right. From top to bottom it's going to be a little bit less, but I think it still is going to work. The reason why I select this design is because I love this kind of circular composition. So it's not vertical or horizontal, it's very regular, almost square proportions with a circle. And let's go. Why do I start with a cube? I prefer to start with a cube because I have you can see more clear the limits of the design. You can see it's left and right, 2 vertical lines and 2 horizontal lines, top, bottom, left and right. For me it's better. For example, when I designed because I know, of course, the design is circular. Maybe it's the reason why you are asking that, because maybe it could be better to start from from a cylinder instead of a cube. But if I don't pretend to create an exact copy, I just start making a cube with the limits about 22 millimeters to know when I am putting the different elements, I'm not going to be uh, I'm not going to be stay higher than 22 millimeters. So, but doesn't matter. You can use a cylinder that you prefer. There is any specific reason or important reason? Yeah, like a bounding box. Like a bounding box. Yes. In this case, for example, if I come back to the scale and where is it? Here, the plugin. You can see now it's 6.5 millimeter thick. If I grab here my caliper, 0.6 point, it's around 0.6. It's going to be, yeah, realistic. I think it shouldn't be maybe higher than 6.5 or maybe 7 millimeter thick. If not, it's going to be very thick. From it, the brooches should be almost flat, not flat, of course. They have a bit of volume, but maybe from 5 to 7 millimeter, they are going to work well. So don't avoid to make them thicker. If not, they're going to look a little bit strange while you are wearing the piece. So we can start using this box as a maximum thickness as well if we need. So let's see. Let's start working with this. The first thing, let's see if I don't have clear in what I'm going to do in terms of I don't pretend to make a copy, so exact replica of the design. I can start blocking the different shapes and start playing with the different simple elements to start designing a different brooch or a different thing. For example, I like that this kind of dragon, winged dragon or whatever it is, so it looks like a dragon or maybe a griffon. How do you call it, griffon or griffin? I'm not sure, but you can see the mythical creature that has lion body with wings, and the head is of an eagle, griffin. Yeah. So something like this. But I like how the head works. Maybe it's too realistic or maybe too explicit. I love this because I found another more references here on Pinterest, and I found one. You can see you have many different many inspiration about create this kind of thing, but I don't pretend to create that dragon or something more. I try to keep the same idea, the same concept as an ancient or as the kind of design that comes from the Victorian age or Victorian times. So to try to avoid to create that dragon brooch. So I try to keep the more elegant, or I don't find it where I'm or something. But I'm gonna try to modificate a little bit the head. That's what was I pretending to say. Okay, so I'm gonna block first the head to start planning. I'm gonna attach here. I'm gonna append. Any tips on how to learn ZBrush fast? Oof. Yeah, to spend as more time as possible with ZBrush. I think maybe one tip, maybe we can call it tip, I don't know. So maybe stay focused about what you need to learn. So don't try to avoid to pretend to learn the whole software. So I mean, so if, for example, I'm gonna start using ZBrush for creating I don't know, little sculptures or little toys with simple forms, or try to don't start, of course, with human anatomy or with any other kind of anatomy, because you're going to start from the hardest point. So was to start making, for example, characters from cartoon movies, or or cartoon films to start making simple forms. So once you grab the basics of the software about what you are doing, you can start taking one more step to start making more complex things. But to stay focused about how to learn only one simple thing. Once you grab the basics about how to create the whole process, then go further with another kind of thing. This is my main. Yes. For example, if you are thinking about using ZBrush, I don't know, for jewelry designs, for example. So try to don't start try to do something like this. So try to start making simple flowers, for example, or simple animal heads, simple things, simple designs. When you are sculpting, when you are practicing with your and you are developing your sculptural skills, but don't try to learn the software as a whole element. So try to start cutting different pieces and start learning each of them one by one. You are welcome. So I'm gonna append the cube. This is the most complex thing. Is going to be the thing that is going to take a little more time is to sculpt the head. So for today, I don't pretend to be here the whole time sculpting just the head. So I'm going to just block a simple head. I'm gonna pen the cube. This one. And I create a duplicate instead of pen a new one. Let's delete this one and delete this one. That's a pen. Cube. Let's click on the solo. Let's make it bigger, more or less the same proportions. So I don't need now the grid. Oh my god. Transpose. Let's turn this off. I'm going to. You can see here the shape of the head. And let's put it here. Let's make it bigger. If we talk about the head, what I see to start blocking the head is a cube, for example, because when you are, this is one thing, for example, I was talking before, to start simplifying forms, to start practicing with ZBrush, for example, if you have in mind to start sculpting something like this, what I see is this. This is going to be what I can again paint on top of here. What I'm seeing is something like this. This is going to be a cube, and here I have another cube. And here I have another cube. So you need to start sculpting something like this. In my opinion, the best choice is to start from the cube and start blocking this kind of shape, and then you can go further and start adding more detail till getting the anatomy of the head. But when you are starting, it's the best way is to start simplifying the forms with simple geometrical shapes like cubes, spheres, and cylinders and things like this. So what I'm gonna do is this is going to be my symmetry is here, left and right. In this case is left eye and right eye. So what you can do is you can use, I'm gonna turn off the symmetry. You can use this option inside of the gizmo. You're gonna start typing like this. So we already have almost the head. You can squish it a little bit. And now we can grab this brush. And now we can start creating. This is going to be. This is the reason why it looks so weird. Is because let's turn on the symmetry now. It's because the topology. Now maybe it's time to see remeasure. Let's correct the double amount of polygons. Let's make some polishing, and now we can. This is going to be more or less the head. the basic shape of the head, more or less something like this. This goes down. We can push this in to make the eye sockets. And from the top, this should be more or less something like this. So we have a basic shape of dragon-like head. So now we can, to append the jaw, we can use the insert primitives. We can grab another cube and we can put it here in the middle. We can squish it. We can extrude it a little bit. We can rotate it, put it in place. I like the way that it has open mouth instead of closed. So let's turn off the symmetry, send it to the center. Let's use the same option as before with the taper. Okay, and that's it. Okay, we can remove the mask, create a new mesh, let's say with the same. Let's apply some polishing, and this is going to be the main shape of the head. Maybe we can create an auto groups to create those two different polygroups to being able to start creating a mask. So okay, something simple. What's the name of this tool? Of what tool? No, the tool we're using to create to block the. It's very important to block where the eyes are. You can see this, the face changes completely. If you put the eye sockets on the wrong side, on the wrong place, sorry, so the head changed completely. Maybe we can use something like this. The first one you use to squeeze the block. This you can call the gizmo, get into the gizmo options, clicking here, and now using the taper. I was using the taper option. Yeah, taper, very useful. No, taper, not taper, taper. T-A-P-E-R. Taper. So this is going to be enough to start blocking the head. So of course this is not going to be the final head. So it's like we are just making like creating a puzzle of different shapes of different pieces. I'm going to turn this off. Another thing that I do, of course, if we were saying before, let's say, of course, we can use the transparency. We can make it smaller. For example, let's turn this off. If we, with the symmetry off, if we put more or less the head. Oh, I forgot to make something. I want to show you something. Let's make it with the more or less the right side. This is one feature that I use very often, but I very often forget to use it. So it's inside of the geometry option. You can find here the stager. So we can call this is going to be the home stage. So ZBrush record in memory, which is what is the position of the head now. So now we're gonna start moving and put it in place. Whoops, let's make it more or less, the eyes are here. It should be rotated more or less like this and like this. Yeah, more or less. Of course, and it's not going to be the final position, but more or less to try to use as more as possible the original picture. So it's after it's going to be time to start adding our own ideas or start creating using our creativity to start creating a new version. But for now, it's going to be very helpful to use the original picture. So now this is going to be the target stage. So now at any point when we can go, we can switch, we can go from symmetrical to the original shape. For example, if I'm seeing now that the nose or maybe the head is too wide, what I can do is switch to the original piece, change the original position. Now I can fix what I think is wrong using the symmetry. Of course, I forgot to turn on my symmetry, so let's fix it a little bit. Let's fix it like this and like this, and maybe put it like this, and now we can send it again to the original shape. This is going to be very useful. I'm going to shape this. This is going to be the brooch number 1. Well, thank you. I will start out with a sphere, but I'm going to try. Yeah, looks like a geometry makes more sense. Yeah, maybe the right way to select or to try to find the right choice when you start blocking forms and you are taking the decision about to start using a sphere or start using a cube or a cylinder. The tip that I can give you is when, depending on the kind of thing that you pretend to create, you should be watching about the planes. The planes I see. If you have planes, I'm gonna. So as I can't paint over this application. Okay, no problem. So what I'm using is something like this. If the thing that you need to sculpt has planes, when I'm saying planes, I am saying this one has this one surface or one plane, 2 plane, 3 plane, and so on. So it's better to start from a cube instead of a sphere. Of course, hasn't sense to start making the eyes from a cube. It has more sense to use as the sphere instead of a cube, but try to take advantage of the planes of the primitive instead of always start from a sphere and start cutting the sphere to start creating the plane. So start from a cube and you already have the planes. So that's my advice or my tip. This is the reason why I started from a cube instead of for example, for the neck, has more sense to start, of course, with a cylinder, for example, for the neck. Let's remove this. I am using a Wacom Cintiq 22 inches tablet. Wacom Cintiq. Okay, so let's make more progress. So when I Forest, that's your thing. Thank you very much. I think you will use blocking and bashing methods. Bashing methods, yeah, that is the way of working. Yeah, it is maybe it could be the right way of the right name to call this way of working. But I prefer to call it this when you are creating a puzzle or you are creating a puppet, when you are putting different elements, putting all of them together to getting composition with all of them. But today is very common to call it kit bashing or model bashing or something. Okay, so another tip that I can give you is, of course, here we were saying before, here we have the total thickness of the piece or the average thickness. But if we are working with the head and the head is now, of course, inside of the cube, we are not able to sculpt to see how it looks like. Of course, you can use the transparency, but the method that I create is selecting the template or the bounding box I created, for the measurements, and I go to the display properties, and I flip the normals. And now I am going to be able to see the limits. It's like we are now watching from the inside of the cube. So we are still using the template. We are still using the same bounding box, but now we're able to see, to stay inside of the cube or inside of the box. But the Burgos is asking, can you apply the stager to different subtools? Yes, of course. And you remember that all individual settings are applied to each individual subtool. So I apply the stager just for this subtool. You can apply as more stagers as you need. And the different subtools that are forming the group of the shape of the face to sculpt them at the same time. What do you? Or I'm reading again your question because can you apply the stager to different subtools that are forming the group of the shapes of the face to sculpt? Yes, for example, if you can apply the eyes to the head, you can select the head, go to the stager, send it to the home, and now what you can do is, for example, grab the IMM primitives, grab the insert sphere, and you can start inserting the eyes. Now it has eyes, for example. Now we have the eyes as a reference. Or for example, I don't know, you can, I'm gonna start creating this kind of eyebrows or something that it has. So I can, for example, use the curved tube snap brush, and I can start adding two different elements here. Let's make it smaller. Let's remove the curve, and now we can start. Let's apply the back face to start adding more thickness here. Now we are start adding more elements to the head. Or even if you have this, something like this, let's turn off this, let's, even if you change completely the topology, you can still using the stager. So you can now switch the state, and now you have here this. So that's the reason why it's going to be very useful. Let me check how if I change the topology, zero measure, same, now stager, switch, now, yeah, it works. Even changing the topology. So we already have the head or something that looks like a head. I'm gonna remove the eyebrows. I don't like it. So I'm gonna leave this for after. Let's go here. Let's leave the eyes, for example. And now I'm going to start with, come on. Put this here. I'm awesome. I always do that in Maya. What do you do? What do you do in Maya? The stager. Hola, Misa-san 3D. ¿Qué tal? Yeah, it's a very useful tool, the stager. Very useful. And let's go with another elements. Let's start making our bashing with different elements. For example, if I grab this, I'm gonna start creating the neck. Solo. To create the neck, I'm going to use this brush, the curved tube snap brush. So the neck goes more or less from here to here, without symmetry, of course. Like this, split max points. It should be rotated something like this. It's a bit thicker. Let's put it in place. Like this. I'm gonna create a zero measure. Let's apply some polishing. can do, let's grab a mask. Let's grab the mask. Control, I like lasso mask, blur mask to start bending the neck a little bit here. The neck is going to be there, so let's apply some back face to the move brush to start adding more thickness. So now we have the neck. For example, to start playing with this kind of curves that has here, I love this kind of thing that it has here, which has this kind of leaves and flowers, or I don't know, this kind of elements. This is the elements that I love to sculpt. What we can do is how to do it. Maybe we can use the same method as before, using the same brush, curve tube snap, following the original picture. So let's creating something like this. Let's make it longer. Don't forget that you can use the number 6 from your keyboard. What is happening here? Okay. From your keyboard, number 6, you're gonna apply a smoothing to the curve using the number 6, hitting number 6 many times. So and now clicking again on the curve, so you will have a softer curve, or more precise curve. So let's split mask points. Of course, this should be more on front, maybe thicker, this, and gonna use this one, move infinitive with back face mask to start playing more thickness. This. Now without the back face, we have the more or less the right shape. Now we are not sure yet how thick this must be, but at this point we are just designing. We are on the designing process. So I don't really care about how the measurements now yet, because at some point we are going to need to start taking measurements to know that what we are doing is going to work on the real life with the printing process, and of course on the casting process. So let's make CV measure. Let's apply some polishing, and now we'll start getting this kind of. Okay, let me check your questions. I think something is not working well with my Restream application. Maybe I am missing some of your questions. I guess not, but I'm not sure if it is working perfectly. So, okay, no problem. Now more things. Let's go taking more steps. I'm gonna correct the neck a little bit longer. Create the mask, blurred mask. They should be more or less going to be there, going to pass through the wing, and maybe I should push out a little bit like this. maybe the head, I should rotate it a little bit. Yeah, something more like this. And maybe I can send it using the stager again, send it to home. This is now the problem that I have. No, let's undo this on latest. Let's send it to the stager. No, one more. There you go. So let's make it this. I'm gonna create the mask of this part. But this head is just for, it's just a dummy. I'm using just to start making the composition. So once I'm happy with the overall composition, then I'll start sculpting individually each single element on each single part. So the best way for creating the wings, of course, without the feathers yet, one of the brushes that I like to use is this one. This is the, where are you here? Curve, try fill. Very useful to create wings. It's very useful for creating wings, flowers, petals, of course, and maybe, I don't know, one more thing. But the most things that I create using this brush is wings and petals. I'm going to, it works as an insert brush, so you should have any of the subtools selected. What I'm gonna do is select this one. I'm going to create the base of the wing, the shape of the wing. So I'm gonna create this. And there you go. So let's split mask points. And we have the necessary piece of geometry that it should work as a wing. So let's send it to the center. Now we can use the bend arc option. This is going to be very handy. Like this. Let's put it on place. Now we can start using the move brush to start without the back face. It's not going to be necessary yet. Let's push this back. And now you can see we are not reaching the maximum depth. So we are now about, you can take the measurements about how thick we are now. What you can do is use the transpose line from this point to this point. Looks like it's the maximum. So we are now at about 5.3762 millimeter. We are below the maximum depth about 1 millimeter. So we are 5.5 millimeter thickness. So we still have enough room to playing with more levels if necessary. Maybe we can push out a little bit the head a little bit more. We can adjust the neck like this, and the wing, it is going to be here and like this. A good thing about this brush is the mesh that it is creating. Well, it's composed by a mix of triangles and quads, but it has polygroups from the front face, from the back face, and for the profile. So when we are using the series measure, we can turn this on, keep the groups, and we can create a new mesh, but keeping the polygroups, because they could be necessary or maybe not, but if you already have the polygroups, maybe it's a good idea to keep them. So okay, so this is going to be, I'm gonna create another wing using the same brush. You have seen how quick you can create a base mesh with this brush, where you can start creating something like this. Split max points. Let's make it thicker. As I said before, now I'm not worried about the thicknesses, the distances, to start taking measurements, but because I'm just worried about the designing process, how it looks like, how the composition looks like, but at some point it's going to be necessary to know how thick is this, how thick or how thin, to know that we are creating printable or uncastable things. So okay, let's go again, keep groups, and clean the zero measure. We can polish it. I like to use a lot the polishing methods. The two that I use the most are the polish and the polish by feature. So the polish to make it more, the edges a little bit more rounded. It's nice. Maybe the neck, it goes more here and the wing goes more there. I think at the end it's going to create an exact replica at the end, but okay, let's see. So you can see now the neck has a kind of triangle shape. It is not completely rounded. Maybe we can fix this with this brush, escalate with this brush, and we can start creating an angle here. Okay, like this. And now with the edge polish, you can start polishing this face, and you can start polishing this another face to start creating. And now you can start pinching this. And now you can create a new mesh. Now we have the sense of perspective on the neck. Okay, no more questions. Okay. Okay, let's study a little bit more this here, because this part is composed by different elements, not by just by one piece that I already have. So maybe we can stack more elements. But if I'm not sure why I can't paint on top of this. Oh, now yes. Okay. So I'm gonna use this scroll from here maybe to here, using the tube that I already have. I'm going to cut it more or less here. Okay. You are just speechless. Please don't be speechless, because I like to talk with you. So it's because I spend the whole day sculpting just about with myself, without being able to talk with anybody. So please, and stop talking to me or stop sending comments or questions, because the streamings are more interesting when we are talking about different things. So the way that we have to start splitting this into two parts, where we can use the slice curve brush. You know what the slice curve brush does? You can slice the mesh, creating two different polygroups. So once we have two different polygroups, we can go to the splitting options and group split. So this is a non-undoable operation. I don't care. So okay. So close holes, and now we have this part. You are hypnotized then. Come on, no. No. It's this is an hypnotic session of ZBrush. El cuadro de atrás sí es para la referencia, porque para saber que lo que estoy esculpiendo no sobrepasa los límites de la medida que me he propuesto al principio. Esto tiene 22 milímetros de izquierda a derecha. Lo utilizo de plantilla. For how long have you been sculpting? I have been sculpting for, I'm not sure, 15 years, maybe 14, for between 14 or 15 years. I started using ZBrush 15 years ago because my elder son he is 14 now, and I started using ZBrush before, so maybe we can say 15 years using ZBrush. 15 years, yeah. So, for example, let's start making this detail of the scroll. This part. You can see it has a kind of depression here in the middle, and what I'm gonna use is one of the masking methods that I use very often is the topology masking, when you are pressing the control key and now you are dragging the mask. So you're gonna start applying the mask based on the topology of the mesh. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna blur the mask, invert the mask. I'm gonna put the gizmo here. I'm gonna make it thicker. And now I'm going to move it right here. Like this. And another way that I can do is, instead of using the same as before, like this. Let's make it bigger, like this. I can create a new polygroup. No, better, more precise. Undo, Control there, Control W. Maybe we can grow the mask a bit, sharpen the mask. Now Control W. Now we have another polygroup. Let's grow the mask a bit more. Control W now. Hi Leonard, welcome. Glad to see you. That you are here as well. Muchas gracias. Most of the time it's very hard for me to pronounce your names. It's Franci Balto Lima Pereira. I guess that you are from Brazil, maybe. Welcome for being here. And now what we can do now, it's we can I select this polygroup, create a new gizmo. I'm calling you here. W now. Now we can Control W. Now we have two different. Let's make it bigger. Grow mask, sharpen mask, grow mask, sharpen mask, and Control W. Now we have three different polygroups. So what we can do is Control and tap on this polygroup. And now can grab, for example, the clay build-up. I prefer to remove the alpha, the square alpha, which comes by default. I can start pushing the polygons here. And now we can start creating more or less something. And now we can use the smooth groups brush to start smoothing this. And now we can start creating something similar. Because at this point I'm just blocking the shapes. Let's add more volume here. let's put this here because we are still using a very low amount of polygons. We can use the clip curve to start clipping this, but we are start getting something similar just using this few strokes. So now we can smooth this. Now we can create a new topology based keeping the polygroups. Let's say I want the double amount of polygon now. Let's see, we measure. Okay. So we are start getting something similar from the reference. We can move with the backface to add more thickness here. Edge polish to create a flat surface here. And now we are getting something similar. Yes. Comics Legend is asking, are you ever felt like giving up on a project but you keep going? Yeah, many times, but many times not, because the best thing about creating or getting jewelry commissions or jewelry orders is that, or one of the things that I like the most about my job is because I don't like to spend a lot of time with only one project or with only one design. I'm always making many different designs, many different commissions with very fast. They are not very complicated. So for me, it's very hard to don't be motivated when I am sculpting and giving up at the middle of the project. But the answer for that is professionality. So the customer is waiting for, he is requesting, or about the design he paid for. So even if you don't feel motivated enough, or you start getting bored about what you're doing, the answer about what you're asking is the professionality to keep going till the end and try to give them as more quality as possible as always. But yeah, could be a common. And maybe another answer I can give you is you start feeling like this, just put it aside. So leave it for 1 week or for a few days. Start working on a completely different thing, and again you can retake what you were doing before and start sculpting with fresh eyes. Maybe with that you can be not so unmotivated than before. Okay, let's go with more things. Let's start. I'm gonna apply more. I'm gonna use this. I am thinking maybe. Okay, so I'm gonna try to don't pay so too much attention to the detail, because I'm gonna try to avoid to make a copy. I'm gonna start creating this concave shape here, and maybe that now it's going to be very useful, because you have noticed that I have by default on my custom interface the thumbnail not visible, but at this point it's going to be very necessary or very useful. So if I go to preferences, I'm gonna turn this on. So because when we are designing, it's going to be very important to pay attention to the empty spaces. In this case, what I am seeing here, I am reading the white profile I have here, the empty space that it is here, and you can see it's a little bit not very well compensated because I have a big empty space here on the right, but on the left we have less empty space, so the design is not well compensated. Maybe it's the reason why from the original design it has this little scrolls here and here, and now it's time to start filling those empty spaces to start getting a much better balance on the design. What the string policies can generally use code it's being printed with 3D printer, actually plastic, or there is a way to make it with metal? Now, if we are talking about the process that we are currently using on the jewelry industry, you can print it today. You know that you can print it with resin, because when we are talking about jewelry, we are talking about high detail or high precision or high definition printers. So you have two ways. You can print it on resin, castable resins, or wax, depending on the machine that you have. The best choice is to try to print it directly in wax, because once you have the original, the master from the printer, you should go to the next step, to the next process, that is the casting process. So you need to go from a piece of plastic or piece of resin or wax, and using the lost wax process, you can you go from resin to a metal. So today we have already some printers that prints directly with metal, but they're not very common on the jewelry industry, as far as I know. But you need a very good definition printer, of course. Maybe 16 microns printers, or even less. You're welcome. You are welcome. So ask whatever you need. I will be try to help you as more as I can, if I can, you know. Okay, I'm going to use the cube again, and I'm going to start creating those little branches or scrolls using, as you see, I am using a lot the curves tube snap brush. For example, I'm going to create here this one. Nope, I don't like it. Again, like this. Still don't like it. Why? Okay, like this could be better. So let's split mask points. Let's fix this. Maybe we can use this inflate brush to start adding more thickness. But it goes from thinner to thicker. So adapt, zero measure, polish. If you are getting this kind of issue, looks a bit strange. I don't know why this reminds me, but a kind of worm or something, I don't know. Okay, what you can do to try to fix this, I love to use the Sculptors Pro to fix this kind of, we can say, topology issues or mesh issues. The magic tool, in my opinion, is the Sculptors Pro with the smooth brush. Just start smoothing. You can see you're going to be able to fix almost everything. And now we don't need the Sculptors Pro anymore, and now we can create a cleaner mesh with a zero measure. Let's click on that one. So I love to use the Sculptors Pro for fix mesh problems. Okay, this should go maybe here, like this. It should be thicker. This. We need to check how thick is this, and remember that just using the transpose line, you can just start taking measurements from left to right, for example. And remember that you are measuring from the center of the circle till the other center of the circle. You are not measuring from the border of the circle. So from this point to this point, we are having 1.5 millimeter, maybe it's closest to 1.6 millimeter thick. So we are getting, we are on the safe area, so it's going to be thick enough. So we can be playing more with this. Maybe it could be more on front. Remember that I'm just blocking things. But now it's not time to start being worried about the details or how perfect elements looks like. I don't know if you are using this brush. This is another brush that I love how it works. It's the slide brush to create this kind of things. I don't know how to call it here. If I go here, I'm talking about this. Let me see if I can paint it. Yep, this kind of things that goes. And I have a continuous surface, but I want to create this kind of little leaves or branches. I don't know how to call them. So then one of the brushes that works great for making that is the slide brush S, this one. You can start, of course, to start sliding the mesh. You can see like this looks not good, so you need to create two little mountains or things here, and now you can start sliding this section of the mesh. BS slide brush. So now you can start. Now it's sliding this. I was saying before that wasn't time to start making details, but I can't avoid it. So I just try to show you different things, or to don't stay here making the same thing the whole time. Now let's create a new mesh. Polish. And now you have this kind of shape. And we already have this. I think I should close a little bit this section. Let's blur the mask. This. Let me read your questions. So as I can see, you are diving your model in more parts. Yes. And at the end, you will connect everything in. Yeah. Yeah, that's my way of working. So I always work, as I used to say, with Frankenstein mode when I am chopping or I am cutting the design into as many pieces as possible, to being able to work with individual pieces. So I'm just putting all of that together like with a puzzle to start watching how they works together. So once I'm happy with the overall composition, I start making booleans using Dynamesh or light boolean to start merging things together and I start sculpting things. But during the designing process or the composition process, I prefer to work with individual parts. Remember, Frankenstein mode, it's a very good way of working. Yeah, the Sculpting Pro is great for fixing ugly things or strange things that are happening. Also, it's very useful for destroy things. For example, I know, maybe if I say I decide here what I made, this is too long. I want to get rid of the end of the tail of this section. What I can do is turn the Sculptors Pro and start smoothing this, and I can start removing the part I don't want, so it's gone. So I can now turn off the Sculptors Pro and start using Dynamax or ZBrush. But the Sculptors Pro is great for fixing and destroying. Fixing and destroying. It's going to be the next movie of the Sculptors Pro. How do you print this one metal? No, I print. If I decide to send it this design for printing, I will print it in wax. I'm gonna show you. If you go to my website, let me find it. All right, where is it here? If you go to my website, let's put it here. Let's close this. It's very easy to find. It's my name.com, nachoriesco.com. If you go to the gallery section and you go to this section, cam and casting, and here you have many examples or for printed pieces or finished pieces. For example, this dragon was printed with resin, but most of the job that I send for printing are printed with this process. Oh, looks like my internet connection is not working very well. Okay, you can see this. This is was printed in wax. This is a printer that prints the model in wax with two different kind of waxes. This is the support wax, it's the white one, and the building wax or the model itself, it's this kind of purple blue material. So from here we send it to the casting house and they go from wax to metal using the lost wax casting process. But today you can find many, so you can go from this point, from here to here. This is rose gold. Or you can use this. This is just for creating a maquette or to check in your hand how it works. If everything is working fine, you can spend more money with the wax model. But you can go from, there are many resin printers today which uses very good castable materials, so that you can use directly from the printed piece to the casting house. Okay, yeah, this is a 3D system wax printer. This is a project. This is a project 2500 wax. The W2 500 printed from 3D systems. Yeah, right. And that's with the smoothing tip. Yeah, the smoothing tip. Yeah, that's with the Sculptors Pro. It's very useful. Leonard, you have many questions. Go ahead. So now it's the time to start sending questions. Thank you very much, Streampala. Thank you very much. And let's see how many we are. Yeah, I know it. I know the X1 from Bluecast, but I didn't use it. The reason why is with no one from my friends or clients are using it. But I have heard that it gives very good results. The resin from Bluecast, the X1. But today there are so many resins ready for casting, but it's just a matter of find the best or the better for you, because it's very important the kind of design that you are doing. It's not the same that you are printing the small pieces or on that you are designing very bold and very big pieces. Maybe it's a matter of to find the right resin for each kind of design. Okay, let's go with more. Let's go with another scroll here. We can go back to here. And we can, using the same process as before, curve tube snap, to start creating this little scrolls. So I don't care now about detail, how detailed it is. I'm just going to be in here focused about the composition, as I said before about the silhouette. The silhouette, maybe. I'm seeing here, for example. It's like this part of the process is like when you are drawing, when you are sketching with a pencil or with Photoshop, if you prefer. When you are drawing lines and you are trying to find the best composition, I prefer to start sketching directly with ZBrush instead of using photo bashing or making collages or mockups with Photoshop. I prefer using this process to start putting different things together, starting using primitives, sculpting simple forms to see how they works, all of them together. This is the same process I follow. What for that design? I'm gonna try to find one image that could be good to understand what I am saying. Let me find it. It's here. Let me find it. I'm not sure what it is. Right. Come on. Oh, I don't find it. Yeah, maybe it's on my Behance. What page? Maybe. Yeah, here it is. This is the brooch that you were watching before. This is what I was saying, the same concept. You can see I was starting using the same process here to start stacking different things. As one of you said before, start making some kind of kit bashing or bashing different elements. You can see how the feathers works. I'm gonna use the same method here and here to start stacking different extruded cylinders to start creating the feathers. So to start creating the whole composition. So once I have it with the result, I'll start making booleans or start sculpting elements. So that's my way of working. Leonard saying, you have noticed that my own. I am using my custom interface. Yes. What made you decide to create it? Because the custom interfaces, they are very useful to improve your productivity, because when you are using always the same brushes, when you are using always the same button during your sculpting process, it's much better to get it in front of you and then at any time that you need to use it, try to find it inside of the necessary menu. So it's much better to just leave the buttons in front of you, leave the amount of brushes that you use the most, and with this, with a custom interface, I think that you can improve your productivity. So you work faster at the end. Stream panel, what about colors and texturing? How is the process for that when you use Sculpturally? You are talking about colors on the real piece? There are many ways to apply colors to a jewelry piece, but very complicated process, some of them. But I'm not sure if you are talking about the texturing process when you're making a render, or when you are talking about the texturing or applying colors on the metal piece. The process that I like the most is the enameling. When you're putting enamel, there are many information on the net. It's a huge knowledge that you need to create jewelry. I'm not saying that I have that kind of knowledge, but there are many different processes, many different techniques, and it's very hard to find one person who knows to make all of them. So you should go to try to find the right person every time that you need to apply a specific kind of color or kind of finishing. This is another reason why I love the jewelry designing process, because there are so many different processes and techniques involved that you are always need to learn something new when you are designing a piece of jewelry. What about how many polygons are you working now, and how many should be when you finish the brush? For example, now for example, you can see in the head, I'm only using 6,000 polygons. So at the end of the brush, we can stay taking all of the subtools, maybe around 4 millions. I try to avoid to use too many polygons. I always try to work with less than 2.5 millions. I tried. I'm talking about for each subtool. For example, on the wings, of course, we are going to have more polygons than the neck, for example, because the wings are going to need more detail for the feathers, and we are going to need more polygons. But for example, for the wings, maybe we can stay around 2 millions or 2.5 million. In my opinion, it's not going to be necessary to work with more polygons. With more than, we can say, maybe 4 millions, in my opinion, hasn't sense. My opinion, that's my way of working. I have lost this one, so I'm going to of course, as more detail you need, as more polygons you need, of course. But try to optimize your workflow to try to avoid to use more polygons than necessary. And in my opinion, staying close of 3 millions or 2.5 millions, talking about jewelry pieces, is not going to be necessary. It's my opinion. Gracias, Miralba. Me alegro que estés aquí. I get it. Okay, perfect. So, okay, let's follow making more. Let's go working the same issue here with the mesh. So we can turn on the sculptures, fix it, and ZBrush. At this point, I'm using ZBrush because I try to keep a low polygon count for each piece. But when I start sculpting, when I start detailing the surfaces, most of the time I go from regular meshes to Dynamesh. Most of the time, not always, but most of the time. Okay, let's see. Maybe we can use this one. We can duplicate it, make a mirror. We can use the same one to put it here. I'm gonna use now as I said before, the Sculptors Pro to destroy part of the mesh, because I want to get rid of this. I want to remove, because this kind of branch has more this kind of shape, so it's going to be necessary to remove all of that. So let's go for Sculpting Pro, start destroying, and that's it. This is a very interesting, I think, my opinion, I think, and this is a very interesting thing it's happening on the design, because this little, I'm gonna remove now this little branch that comes from this point to this point is connected to the jaw of the dragon. It gives strength to the piece. If not, when we are making so tiny things or products, maybe in some cases it's going to be very easy to break when you are I don't know how to say it, when you are hooking, when you are making something like this, when you are wearing the piece and you are, I don't know how to say it, but it in some cases is going to be very easy to break. So but if you are applying this kind of connected points, when you are making things more strong, the same thing here is happening here. You can see it here very clearly here at this point. This point, instead of unconnected, will be better to keep it connected, because this kind of things add strength to the piece. So maybe the flow is a bit different. It's more like this. Of course, it's possible to create contact points, but it's still trying to be delicate. So try to don't put all of the elements together, touching one to the others. But we're just applying little connecting points will gives an extra strength to the piece once casted, and will be more difficult to break or to deform. The same thing here on the wing. Those little connecting points, they are going to be very useful. But still trying to keep air. But at the same time that we are trying to make it stronger, it's good to have the feeling that we are creating a light piece. So that balance sometimes is very difficult to achieve. The feeling of creating something delicate, but at the same time something very strong and difficult to break. Try change a little bit the angle of the head, something like this. Or even we can create an extra control point here between this and this. Okay, that's it. Okay, what do we make now? So I think I'm gonna make this part of the neck a bit thicker to create some kind of the body here. Maybe the wing should be here. Okay, let's apply, I'm gonna duplicate this, let's put it here. We can do the same thing now. Let's Sculpting Pro and start destroying this part. organize. Let's use the image to try to organize things better. Okay, you are here. Maybe you are a little bit smaller. Like this. And we can do is use this brush. A neck hook is going to be very useful to create this kind of shape that it has this kind of picks. Okay, we have one big extrusion. We have now when I am looking forms, I love to use the Sculpting Pro because it's very handy. Okay, something like this. Because you can create forms on the fly, you are at the same time you are sculpting, you are creating the necessary topology. Okay, this one could be more or less something like this. Could you show again how you create the 3 polygroups on the tail? The moving of masking, blurring it. Okay. If I go here, I'm gonna create the duplicate. We'll go to the original. Let's come back with the history. Here. Now this is the starting point. So with the gizmo, control key, and now you're gonna start dragging, start moving. You can say how you move the gizmo. The mask recognize the topology of the mesh. So you start pushing the mask here. You should keep the finger on the control key all the time. So when you have here, you can release. And now once you have applied the mask, just use the shortcut Control W, and now you have another polygroup. So the same thing here. So I'm gonna isolate this green polygroup, Control Shift, using the select brush, Control Shift and tap. Now the same as before, Control and drag. Here maybe, Control W, and now we have another polygroup based on the created mask. I hope it's more clear now. So now from here you have 3 different polygroups, so you can apply a mask to any of the different polygroups. So you just again using the gizmo, control and tap here, and now we can, for example, here we can pull it back, and we have this kind of extrusion. To fix this is not very well, what you can do is use the smooth groups brush, so without the sculptors. So this brush will respect the polygroups, so it will be very easy to clean. For example, let's say you start moving this and this is not perfect. My keyboard, okay. You are, for example, this is not completely regular, something like this. This is not completely straight and soft. You can use the smooth groups to start smoothing. I'm using the smooth groups, yes. With caution, of course. You're gonna start smoothing. Now the problem that I'm having now is because the resolution or the kind of polygons, the amount of polygons I'm working with, it's too loud. We can subdivide it, and now will be much better to clean now than before, because now I'm using a bigger amount of polygons than before. But the smooth groups is very handy. Okay, let's this is the original, this is another one. Okay, I will keep this one too. Okay, like this. What I can do to try to create something different, I'm gonna create this kind of leaf. Interesting shape. Maybe first thing that I should do is try to fix this curve, that it is not on the right place. Maybe we can put in an arm, maybe. Like here. So I'm going to insert an sphere. Here, split, mass points. I'm gonna extrude it, this, make it thinner. And now it's just a matter of start creating the shape. It goes in this direction from to the back. Yeah, something like this. We can see measure. Thank you very much, TSB. Glad you like it. Well, we are getting something like this. We kind of start creating the two planes because it has one plane here. Another plane here. It's not rounded, it has a kind of bending in the middle, more or less. This. Here I can use the curve tube snap again to create this little branch. Goes there. I'm gonna split it. As I said before, as you can see here, I split everything into as many parts as possible. Even this little element, we can inflate the tip, make it thinner. Because in my opinion, having all of the elements as an individual subtools, it's much better. It's going to be easier to modify the size, the placement, or whatever you need. If you are sculpting everything from the same surface, if you don't like it, if you try to move something to a different place, maybe you're gonna have problems, or maybe you're gonna have more problems than having the element as an individual subtool. Of course, maybe you can do it, but maybe you can have more problems. Okay, to start creating this little the cuts that it has, we can use the curve clip curve brush, Control Shift. You can use now the Alt key, double twice to start clicking like this, and another one here. And another one here. Let's see, remeasure again. If you are having weird things with the topology, again, Sculptors Pro, fix it. Because many times when you're using the clipping process, maybe you are stressing the mesh, but you can fix it with the Sculptors Pro. And now you can go for dyname, so you can create a series measure again if necessary. But you can use the Sculpting Pro for fixing the issue with the topology and with the mesh. Now it's not necessary anymore. It's Sculpting Pro. You can start creating this. Okay, we are almost done. Of course, it's going to be necessary to keep refining and refining the shape till getting a more organic shape, not so blocky than it is now, but it's just a matter of spending more time and that's it. But you already have the necessary base mesh or the necessary starting point to work with to start refining the shapes. Gracias David. Hey Garrett, Garrett Schultz, well pronounced. Thank you very much that you are here on the stream. So we are almost done. So okay, we have 3 minutes left. Perfect. I know to talk German. Is it German or? Okay, so next streaming, I will be here again, refining more shapes, going further with this design, till hopefully get it completely ready after 2 streamings. So the next stream is going to be in the next Wednesday. Next Wednesday is the 13th. And the next Wednesday it's going to be the 20th. So I hope the 20 will be completely finished. So next streaming maybe we will go with the feathers. The feathers is a part that I enjoy to sculpt. Just normally it's a tricky element to sculpt for getting good result, but you just spending time you can have very good result with the feathers. And we are gonna start talking about the overall composition in terms of thickness, distances. We are going to be worried about the backside. You can see how ugly the backside looks like, because at any point it's going to be necessary to start thinking about the backside, because as we saw before, the backside should be flat or almost flat, or as more hollow as possible to save as more metal as possible. So we should be worried about the backside at any point, but at the moment not. But we already have the overall composition already done. So maybe we can add more elements or own elements. Maybe we can add here an arm. I'm watching here maybe a kind of arm here going maybe here from this here, going something like a claw here, making something like this arm here. No, I like it, or maybe a bended arm like this. What do you think? But we can apply this kind of with the claw here. Maybe, yeah, maybe something like this. An arm here maybe. Or maybe we can improve a bit the design with adding more scrolls here, adding one more here, maybe adding more scroll here, maybe hanging here, kind of a pair or something. I think it will be necessary to find some references and or inspiration. Maybe we can go more something like this. I don't, maybe I think the option of adding more scrolls here at the bottom, maybe it could work. Maybe some kind of, whoops, not that thick. Maybe adding some more extra elements here. Of course, it goes behind. So it should go more something, it goes from here and goes from here with some extra scrolls here. Some hanging in a stone here. Okay, we can play around with more elements. Or, let's see. We will talk about this on the next streaming. And thanks to you for being here. I really appreciate that you spend your time watching my streamings. It's only way to but you. Thank you for taking the time. Yeah, I really enjoy taking this time with you, sculpting and explaining my way of working, of my opinions about different techniques. Yeah, you can write all of your questions for next week or for the week after the next week. So as I said before, I really enjoy answering your questions. So I like to be here answering questions on comments and talking about which is your opinion about what I'm doing, or how can I improve my designs even, or giving me your skills about, or your knowledge, or sharing your knowledge about any other jewelry process, because I'm just on the sculpting part of the process, on the digital part of the process, and there are many information to learn about the manufacturing processes involved on the jewelry manufacturing. So thank you very much for being here watching today's stream. So next week I will be here same time, Wednesday 13th, same time. This is 6 p.m. Central Europe time, and I'll wait you here next week. So again, thank you very much. Have a next weekend, and hope will see you here next week. So thanks again, and bye. Take care.